Guys, welcome back to Let's Play Xenosaga Episode 1. Last time we went over some of the bonus content, database, how to grind and all that. This time, as you can see, the episode looks a wee bit different. Yes, I actually have two video feeds running in this one. The entire point of this episode is to go over the 3 scenes in the game that contain censorship. Now, I've wanted to do this since I basically realized there was censorship, well, and that I decided to make the LP. So this has been in the works for a while. I haven't really had a good way of getting footage, so I've ended up having to find it online wherever I happen to find it. So the way it goes is the 3 scenes that have these in there are the initial meeting between Momo and Albedo, the secondary meeting as you're breaking into the Song of Nephilim, and finally the confrontation between the party and Albedo in the Song of Nephilim, obviously. Now, these 3 scenes have a little bit of censorship. Now, I'm going to talk over the dialogue. I'm going to turn it down in the editing so it shouldn't be too loud. But I do want to kind of compare the differences. Now, my normal stance on censorship is no, do not censor things because, 1, that hurts freedom of speech, and 2, if it was originally designed to be one way, why would you change it? Now, there was the first one. You may need to go back and kind of adjust, but in the Japanese one, which will always be in the bottom right, he actually breaks the arm of the Kirschwasher. Now, next one is right here. Notice he will throw the doll in the right hand, and in the left hand, we don't even see it. Now, this is the next one. He brings out a knife. Now, we see nothing to do with the knife, and the scene, although creepy as all hell, does make sense for fear. Throw the knife in there, and it makes even more sense. Now, as I was saying, normally the amount of censorship, I don't really like it at all. I would rather there be none. However, in this case, because the voice acting, the music, the atmosphere all work really well together, even without the knife there, there's no real downside, and you don't lose any effectiveness of the scene. Now, I find this is a very important note about the censorship that they have decided to do in this game. Now, there's a couple of reasons, I think, as to why they wanted to cut, no pun intended, the use of a knife from this game. One is blood. Yeah, sorry about the scene being a little dark in one of the pieces of footage. I found both of these online because I was having recording issues that weren't going away. And if things seem to desync as the video goes on, that's due to subtle changes in how they sped things up or changed certain things when they re-edited. Now, he also takes the knife to his own head in this one, and you see a lot of blood, but the scene kind of jumps around, and that fog or haze or whatever it is, that, as far as I can understand, is actually in the original game. It's not something that they just put into this particular version of the video that I happen to find, at least from what I've heard. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to put it out there that even though we lose certain aspects of the scene from the original, I don't think it actually has any real effect on the effectiveness of the scene, and reduces a little bit of the violence, which I guess maybe got them down to a teen rating as opposed to a mature rating, or whatever they wanted to do. I don't really know. Who is it? But they chose to make these very few instances of censorship in this game. Now, this is something that happens in the other 2 games as well. In episode 3, I might just mention it. In episode 2, I think I'll probably just mention it because they're not really as big, and me doing the episode here kind of explains my stance on it and the effectiveness of it. I will try and remember. There's a lot more instances of censorship in episode 3, and well, as far as I can find anyway, only 1 instance of it in episode 2. So that one I'll remember for sure.
There's enough of it. We can afford to waste as much
Yes,
as
we
want.
can, Albino.
Like my head, you see?
Anyway, there's not much else changing to the end of the scene, which is almost over anyway. But I did want to kind of show all that stuff, and I'm at the point of repeating myself at this point. So I think we can probably move through the rest of this scene and give me a chance to take a drink of water, and we'll check out the next scene. Okay, this is the scene where we come into the Song of Nephilim,
Than I expected.
and I believe that's just the initial scene. Now, I had made the comparison that this scene was very uncomfortable because it was
For that
according to
key
rate.
that sleeps inside
And the Japanese version, the uncensored version, really drives that point home. Because instead of mind whatever, yeah, that's just no thank you. Now, you can see how I made this comparison specifically after watching the Japanese uncut version. And you'll notice that some of the subtitles are Japanese while others are English. Again, I found this stuff online, so they're all over the place in terms of where I found them, different sources and all this and that.
From any trite lines like "You're still alive."
But that's kind of another one that was cut. And I can see, because of the implications, because of the apparent age Momo is, I can see why they wanted to tone that
Does
down.
she know that we're monsters, both
I
you
think
and
that
I?
one would have been creepier left in, but I don't think it really hurts it too much, so it's not a huge deal. It's when they make stupid little cuts that just don't make any sense. It's like, we're going to cut out the use of the term pub in every Final Fantasy game that's ever existed.
That's
Why? Because pubs are bad.
Flesh.
Not usually, especially if you go on Wing Night. Wings are good. But anyway, yeah, for whatever reason, like stupid censorship like that, I just hate. There's no need for it. It really has no purpose. And for that perspective, I'm just not a big fan of it. That's the type of censorship that really does bother me.
Witness to his true nature right now.
The subtle pieces of censorship they've done here, not so much.
Such a pitiful sight.
Let's see,
This is
there's
unseemly,
scenes in episode 3 where the only difference between censored or uncensored, again, with the creepiness, is a loss of blood from the scene. And that's one thing the Xeno series has tried to do, is remove blood after, of course, Xenogears.
If I do this,
And you can see and kind of understand Junior's rage a lot, I guess, more easily. It's not as subtle. And there can be a lot to be said for subtlety. And that's one of the things that I kind of like about the censored version, in fact. It plays the subtlety really well.
what it takes, what you must do,
But
or
the bluntness and the pure evil of the original also has a purpose, and I can see the advantage to both, which is why I wanted to kind of demonstrate both of them for you.
So, I'll just take what I want and proceed with my plans. And along the way, I'll make you remember who you really are.
Shut up! I don't need some freak contaminated by Udo to tell me.
Now, if you're wondering about that specific line, it doesn't really have to pertain to censorship, but do wait for episode 2, because in episode 2 we learn a little more about what they're talking about here, or what Albedo or Junior had said there. But for the most part, this is all of what we really have as far as censorship to analyze. I was expecting this to, I would have a little more to say on the matter, but I guess I kind of covered it already now, didn't I? Now, most of the rest of this scene plays out pretty much the same in both versions.
impossible.
There's
Is that
a
nanotechnology?
little bit of change,
No.
but that's pretty much it.
Work anywhere near that fast.
There's about a minute and a half left, and since I don't have all that much left to say, I think we're just going to call her an episode there. Not as long as my standard episode, but the entire point of it was just to go over and compare, and since we've already done that,
What?
we might as well call it an episode. So, like I said, that's all for this one, and I'll see you guys next time.